Tina, if you would be so kind as to introduce our speaker.
Oh, thank you. Evening, everybody. Now, Andrea is our monthly regular healer. She offers a meditation, healing meditation, which is absolutely wonderful. I always have feelings in my spine whenever she uses the bowls, and I'm grateful for that. Now, this is her second time that she spoke. First, it was her near-death experience, and this time, her concentration is going to be on a book that she wrote. Andrea's daughter, Chloe, passed into spirit in 2016. 6 weeks later, Andrea began a dialogue with Chloe after hearing Chloe's words, "Mom, you're so easy to find. It's a joke." For 5 minutes, they exchanged many conversations. It became their first book, Conversation with Chloe, a mother and daughter dialogue across the veil. I read that book. I can tell you, very emotional. And interestingly enough, even my husband, Michael, read the book. And he was very touched. And as a matter of fact, he's going to put some portions of the book together in a document. So he's going to share that eventually. Thank you, Andrea, for accepting that. And before I introduce, is she there? Before I introduce you, finally, I want to say that September speaker is Glenn. Glenn, are you here? I think he was here. Anyway,
yes, I'm here. Okay. Thank you.
Very good, Glenn. And October is Dr. Zeke, who had, I think, more than one near-death experience. And of course, November is Jane Larson, who's our speaker. I'm not quite sure about December yet. I'm kind of working on two different people to see who's going to take it. And that is it. So, Andrea?
Yes, I'm here.
It's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to Michael for wanting to do that, to take out some little tidbits and gems from the book and put it together in a document. That's really a nice thing. I can't wait to get that too. I
was touched by that. Yeah.
That's really nice. Hi, everybody. So yeah, it's just me, but believe it or not, this is exactly what happened. In 2016, my daughter, Chloe, passed into spirit, and I knew that I had taken care of her the last year of her life, and I knew that I needed to have a break from where I was living at home. I wanted to just go somewhere and recover. And I wanted beauty. I asked for beauty. You know, Jim, you talk about instant manifesting. I said, Lord, I need beauty and I need love. It's something incredible when you have a loss like that, such a close loss. It's like you need to have someone to hug. And I went through the whole process of the last year of Chloe's life, taking care of her solo, and the whole thing with the funeral and all of that, nobody to hug. And you know what? That was rough. It was rough having no one to hug. So it's about 6 weeks before Chloe passes, and she's just gone into palliative care. And I know what's coming. And I say, okay, I want to find a lovely spot to heal. And I go online and Google a little, I want a little house by the water. And sure enough, this little house pops up, and I email the owner and I secure the place. I wasn't sure what date exactly I would need it, but I said, give it to me for the 1st of April. This was the month of January. So I was giving myself time to go through the whole process and to just know that I would have a place that would be simple and beautiful to heal. So sure enough, I move into this place. And the first day that I move in, on the 1st of April, 2016, I'm writing Chloe a letter. And she had passed in February. So this was about 6 weeks later. And I say, Chloe, you would love this place. Now, I raised 3 kids in a 4-story townhouse, like with 4 bedrooms and all that. I ended up giving everything away. And there I was in this little 400 square foot house right on the water. It was just what the doctor ordered. I had the geese, I had beavers, I had herons, I had mink that would run across the stone wall. Hello, Shelley. I had just the kind of beauty that I needed and the peace. So I move into this little house and I write Chloe a letter, and I get up to burn that letter in my little wood stove, and I hear her voice clear as day. And Tina, that's exactly what she said. She said, "Mom, you're so easy to find, it's a joke." And it was exactly her voice with exactly her intonation. And I said, "What do you mean, Chloe?" And she said, "Mom, you pray. And when you pray, your light shines and we see your light." Now, Chloe had passed in February. And little did I know at that point that the little house that I rented, the address of the little house was 218 Lakeshore Road. And you know what date Chloe passed in February? 218. I didn't even realize that till I had been here for about a year. So Miss Chloe starts talking to me, but that wasn't when, wasn't the first time I had spoken with Spirit. I had been speaking with Spirit ever since 1992, which was after my near-death experience. And as you know from these experiences, we start to receive so many psychic gifts. Can't really make head or tail of them at the beginning, but talking to Spirit was something that I really loved, and I developed it. So when Chloe passed in 2016 and started talking to me, I didn't think it was crazy. I didn't think it was unbelievable. I thought it was amazing. It was the greatest gift to be able to talk to Chloe when she had left her body. Now, I didn't want to make a book. I had no desire to put a book out. I was teaching in university. You know, you're always afraid of judgment. Even though I had gone through the whole near-death experience and all that, I really didn't want to write a book. I just wanted to talk to Chloe. And she's like, "No, no, no. We are doing this. I've been through all this. I've done all this because there is a greater purpose to this." And so she really gave me a hard time, and we had like a little squabble, actually, an interstellar, whatever it was. And I said, "Okay, I will continue and we'll just see where this goes." Now, if any of you have not written a book but want to write a book, I thought it was really going to be the hardest thing ever to do, to write a book. But you know, you write what you know, and you write for yourself. And you don't write because you want to publish a book or you want to give out a message. You write because you're in this incredible flow and you just feel the words come. And what I have to tell you, which was the coolest thing, I mean, it's still the coolest thing that's ever happened, even though all these years later and so many other amazing things have happened, it is definitely the coolest thing. Now, I'm talking to you from my little MacBook Air, this little laptop thing. And I would open this at about 4 o'clock in the morning. And Chloe would say, "Mom, you can write whatever you want to write. But when you're taking dictation from me, you have to write exactly my words. You're not allowed to edit one word. And I want you to close your eyes." I'm like, "What? Are you kidding?" She said, "Just trust me. You just close your eyes and you start typing my words." And you know what? Okay, this is like, forget it. Ultra cool, amazing thing. I never made a spelling mistake. But when I was typing my words, I made tons of mistakes. So over the course of 5 months, she would wake me up at about 4:30 in the morning. Now, when Chloe was in her physical body, she used to do this really annoying thing where she would stick her chin and like grind it into my shoulder. "Hi, Mom. I love you, Mom." I'm like, "Chloe, that really hurts. Like, that doesn't feel good, you know?" So she would use that technique to wake me up at about 4:30 in the morning. So there are many things about this that I can't actually explain to you. I don't understand how these things, how, you know, the physicalness of her being able to do that. But she did. So she'd wake me up about 4:30. She'd grind her chin into my shoulder, and up I'd go, and I'd just kind of be half awake. And you know, your brain is in that alpha state, so you're really receptive, and you're not pulling in any other thoughts from all the consciousness. It's all crazy around you. And I never had a TV, and I never put the radio on, so I was really in this zone, and I would begin to write. Now, one of the things that happens when you're taking care of somebody and you know that they're dying. For me, we talked about it, and I said, Chloe, I need you to give me a sign. I want to discuss, I want something that only you and I know, so that when it happens after you've passed, it's going to totally blow me away, and I'm going to know that you're close. Now, Chloe gave me many, many, many signs. One of the first signs was just a few days after she passed. I opened my cell phone, and you know, like where it's the corrected words and whatever, right under your text. Let's say if you're sending a text, there's a little sort of a line there, and I open my phone, and right there it says, Chloe is fine, on my phone. Chloe is fine. It was like, what? So I picked the phone up to say, oh my God, I have to figure out a way to take a picture or something, and it was gone. So before she passes, Chloe had cancer. So at the end of her life, there was lots of pain. She never complained, though. But one of the things she loved would be for me to pile her in the car, which was not easy to do, and take her through a drive-through and get her an iced cappuccino. That was her favorite thing, was iced cappuccino. She could have one every single day. So I said, Chloe, it has to be iced cappuccino. That's got to be the sign. I mean, we're never going to forget it. Iced cappuccino. She said, okay, Mom, iced cappuccino it is. So about 3 months after she passes, I am doing groceries with my son. So I have 2 other children, and I have one son who, it's actually a tragedy worse than Chloe, way worse. He did drugs. He was 19. He's 36 now. And he destroyed his brain doing drugs. And it was just awful. And so I would help him, and I still do. And we were doing his groceries together one day. And we're at the checkout, and I'm helping him empty his cart. And I see 3 bottles of iced cappuccino. And I said, Matthew, you don't even drink coffee. And he said, I know, Mom. I don't know what they're doing in my basket. And so I said to him, do you ever feel your sister around you? He said, no. But sure enough, there were 3 bottles of iced cappuccino in his cart. And another time, we have a really good metro system in Montreal. I was taking the metro home, and it was about 9:30 at night. And the metro station was basically empty. And you know, metro station, you have a lot of stairs to walk up to get outside. And as I'm walking up these stairs, I walk up the first flight of about 10 stairs, and then there's a landing, and then there's a second set of stairs, and right there, in the middle of the stairs, I mean, impossible. This was a huge metro station that thousands of people pass through, was a bottle of iced cappuccino right there waiting for me. And it goes on and it goes on. And Miss Chloe loves to send signs. If there's something, I mean, I could just talk about signs all night and tell you, you want to communicate with your loved ones, ask them for a sign. They love to give you signs. Now, last year, there was a large convention for helping parents heal, and it was in Arizona, and I was asked to do a 4-day sound lounge. So a sound lounge was, we didn't even really know what a sound lounge was. I just loved it. The words came to me one morning as I woke up, do a sound lounge. So I said to the organizers, let's do a sound lounge. And they're like, yeah, that's a great idea. Sure enough, I was put in this room, and there were about 150 chairs in the room, and there was a huge screen behind me playing a PowerPoint of over 900 kids in spirit, Chloe being one of the kids. And the picture of Chloe that was there was this one, which just a picture I had taken like that a year before she passed. So I was put in charge of this PowerPoint as well as doing this sound lounge. And the second morning I'm there, the sound lounge is working great and everything's working fine and the chairs are filling up, and it's very touching because parents would come and sit and look at the pictures of all the kids. And all of a sudden, everything stops working, everything jams, nothing works, and I'm getting frustrated and feeling really bad. And I look up at the screen as everything is jammed and frozen, and whose picture do you think is on the screen? Up there in a 10 by 10 screen, Miss Chloe. And then she says to me, first I ask her, I said, Chloe, how did you do that? And she didn't answer me. She said, Mom, you make it so easy. And it struck me that that was the second time she said, you make it so easy. The first time somebody's got a, not muted Bethany, but I don't know who it is. So I'm going to leave that up to you to figure it out. So I realized that was the second time she had told me, you make it easy. So I sat with that and I meditated and I said, what do you mean? What makes the communication easy? And she said, Mom, you're so willing. And I said, willing to what? And she said, willing to let go of doubt. That's the key. The key is to let go of doubt, and then the magic happens. So I move into this little house, and the address of the house is 218, which is the day she passed. But I booked this house in January, and I, of course, had no idea what day Chloe was going to pass. And we start writing this book together. And I think that after I get this published and I start doing like book clubs and things, I think like people are going to think this is amazing. I mean, they're just going to be flocking to this. They're going to love this. They're going to be amazed. Wrong. So wrong. All I got was skepticism. It was fascinating. People didn't believe. Even my good friend who wrote the foreword of the book, he was skeptical too. But he knew me enough to feel that the words resonated, and he wrote a beautiful foreword for me. But it was true. So after I had been doing this for a little while, I said to her, Chloe, you know, by the way, anybody can ask questions at any time that you want to ask questions. You don't have to wait to the end or whatever, Tina, Bethany, whatever you want to do. If I'm saying something and somebody wants to know about specifically that point, just ask a question. I won't lose my train of thought. And if I do, I do. But anybody can ask a question. So as we were writing this book, and I didn't, of course, know at that point that it was really going to be a book. I was just writing. I was just doing what came naturally, and I was in the flow of it. And I said, Chloe, I want to help other people do this. I want to help not just other parents, but anybody who's lost a loved one. I mean, we always talk to our loved ones, right? We continuously talk to them. But what about if we had a bit of a blueprint and a way to raise our ability to actually be able to speak to each other, not just ask, but receive our answers and have conversations like we're having. And that's when she gave me the 12 steps to bridging. And I got to tell you, it was tough taking that down. And a girlfriend of mine who's a medium told me, Andrea, you spend so much time in that high vibration that it's very hard on the body. And me, I'm like super healthy eater, you know, but for those 5 days when I took down these 12 steps, all I could do was eat junk food. All I wanted was Doritos. That was it. I just wanted to eat junk the whole time. And I needed that salt somehow. This I haven't had an explanation for. Why did I have to have so much junk food over those 5 days? And then I was once I took this down, I was exhausted. But she knew, she knew when to talk to me and when not. So she would wake me up at about 4:30 in the morning. And if our chat lasted a half an hour, it was a half an hour. And if it lasted 2 hours, it was 2 hours. And it really was intense for those 5 days when I took down the 12 steps to bridging. It's a really difficult thing to talk to parents who have loved ones in spirit, and I have lots and lots of parents who communicate with me, and I'm so blessed that it can sort of be a bit of a signpost for them and help them to have hope that they can really reach their child, not just maybe, and not through a medium, but themselves to be able to talk to each other. That was the goal for me. So when I took down these 12 steps, I thought to myself, how am I going to present this? Because the first step is tough. And that's what Chloe told me. She said, Ma, and it was always her voice, exactly her voice. And she would swear like a truck driver, and she was exactly Chloe. And sometimes, I would say, okay, this is crazy. This isn't happening. I'm making this all up. And then she would fill the room with cigarette smoke. Chloe used to smoke. So then I was like, okay. The doubt never lasted very long because the conversation was just so rich. But back to the 12 steps. So I'm trying to present this to parents who have kids in spirit. And it's hard because the first step, she said, Ma, you can do any of them in any order you want, except the first. The first step has to be the first step. I said, okay, what's the first step? All is as it should be. Whoa, that's a tough one, That's a tough one. How do you present this material and say, well, you know what? You've just lost one child, 2 children. I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios out there, and some of them are much more difficult than some, than what I lived. Although you can't compare one to another. Everybody lives what is appropriate for them. But to try and explain to a parent that all is as it should be, all is appropriate in life as in death. And you know what prepared me for this? My near-death experience. Had I not had that experience in December 1991 and known there was no death, I would not have been in the same frame at all. And I knew when I was taking care of Chloe and she was dying, I'm like, okay, man, the rubber hits the road now. Now you have to really, you have to walk your talk. You say you're not afraid of death. You say that, life is eternal and whatever else that I learned and the psychic gifts, but I had to live it. So I just would like to take a moment, because it's a lot of stuff that I'm saying, and when I started saying that I was doing book clubs, and I would do like 25 people in a room, and I would say, okay, who's read the book? And everybody would raise their hand. And then I would say, okay, who believes that I really talked to Chloe? And like 4 people would raise their hand, and I go, you would think it would be like, wow, I want to learn to do this. This is so amazing. But no, it was really powerful skepticism that I faced. And so I would go back home after an event and I'd say, Chloe, I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. And she would just say, Mom, don't worry about it. The people that need to hear you are going to hear you. The people that we need to have read the book are going to read the book. You just keep going, one foot in front of the other, do your thing, and don't worry about it. This is our mission. Our mission is to help people not fear death and to have these discussions. And that's really what helped me keep going. So before I get into the 12 steps, does anybody have anything they want to ask? Yes, no?
I just want to thank you. Bless you.
Thank you, Janice. That's nice. Thank you, Janice. Aren't you glad we met? I'm so glad we met.
We sat next to each other.
I know.
Okay, I'll turn off the mic before I get in trouble.
One thing I actually, you see, like one of the beautiful things about all the sound that I do is that I do allow myself to be open to hearing the voice of spirit often, almost all the time, unless I turn it off and I say, okay, that's it. And one of the things they tell me all the time is share your experiences, because they will encourage other people to share. And there's some little thing here that I want to share. I shared this to a big room of people. And at first I thought, okay, maybe it's silly. Maybe they'll think it's stupid. You know, you judge yourself, right? And then I thought, no, just share. So I want to share this with you. So Chloe was not a good artist. And you know, when I speak about her, by the way, and if you read her book, she's with you too. Like, you will see. I mean, I had a girlfriend of mine who read her book, who was a Francophone, and she kept getting one of the words from the book that she didn't know. And the word was excoriating. She's like, Andrea, I keep hearing excoriating. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's Chloe telling you she's there. And that word was in the book. I want to show you this. So Chloe was not a great artist, but you see this painting? It's basically just pink. It's kind of feathery with a little bit of texture, but it has a dot. See the little dot in the corner? So after Chloe passed and I had to clear out stuff, I had about 25 paintings. And I said, okay, I'm just going to keep one. Chloe, which one do I keep? And so she said, keep this one. And I said, okay, what's so special? And I realized, she said, Ma, this is me, you know, but this, she said, is the cancer. So here it is down in the corner. But she said, this is your telephone. This is your 911. When you need me, when your grief is so bad that you are just destroyed, when you feel sad or really lonely and you really, really miss me, oof, put your finger on the dot and I'll come. So I did it once. I only did it once. And it was incredible because I put my finger on the dot and then I was tackled. It was like a football tackle. And I was thrown back onto the sofa and I was like, ooh, okay. I know, I don't doubt, and I know, but that was amazing. And then when I was doing a talk for a large amount of people, I brought this painting and I talked about the dot and what I did this one time. And sure enough, this woman, an older woman, she raises her hand and she says, thank you. My husband passed. And we have this beautiful painting behind our sofa in our living room. And we used to look at it all the time. And I got a message from him after he passed that I was to put my hand at a certain spot on the painting and that he would come. But she said, I doubted and I didn't believe it was really him. And I thought it was my imagination. But she said, now I know that it was him. So share what you get. Share what you get. Bob.
Yes.
Yes, I have a question, Andrea. Are you still in touch with Chloe as much as before? I mean, when you were doing the book and all that, of course, it was very intense. But how about now?
Well, what happened was at the very end of the book, Kathy, spoiler alert, I know you've got 10 pages left, but at the very end of the book, it's like, okay, Mom, now it's time for me to go. And what she explained to me was, let's say this is the size of the universe. Okay. Let's say this is the whole extent of the whole entire universe. She says, you're right here and I'm right here. And we are right there. I'm right there. But she said, now this part of our journey together is done and it's time for me to go. And we had many discussions about where she was going, and she was working in a flower studio and all kinds of things. And then she said, we're not going to speak as often. And also her voice and her tone started to change. It's like that personality became less apparent. And I do still talk to her, but what's happened is before Chloe passed years ago, if you've read the book, you know that I started a business called Grandma Emily's Granola. And that business was started because my grandmother, who had passed, came to me one day and said, go get that picture, go make a logo, we're going into business. And I was like, what? But when your dead grandmother comes to you and says that and tells you where the picture is to go make the logo, like, you don't argue. And I did. And she could see ahead that I was going to be broke, that I was going to be divorced, that I was going to have 3 kids with no child support. And I started this granola business. Now, when Chloe started talking to me, my grandmother said to me, I'm leaving. I'm backing away because I don't want you to get mixed up. So I'm going to sort of give Chloe the floor, you know? And that's what happened for a long time. And then as Chloe backed off, my grandmother has come back.
Wow.
So it's really cool. Our grandmothers, oh my God. Our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, you know, ancestors we've never met. They love us and they guide us. And wow. So yeah.
Well, thank
So
you.
that's sort of what's happened there. But she still does come back from time to time, and that there's sort of a sequel to that incredible sign that happened last year at the Helping Parents Heal conference. What was so cool was that there were people in the room. So a lot of people saw this picture of Chloe come up on the screen and the screen freeze. Then she said to me, she sort of took me by the shoulder like this, you know, like how you would walk a kid, like a kid who'd done something wrong, you'd walk them to their room. She kind of picked me up by the shoulder and walked me all the way down the hallway and into a conference room, turned me around, and in front of me was a family of a father, a mother, and 2 children, which was quite unusual actually at the Helping Parents Heal conference that there would be kids there. And she had me sit right in front of this young man. He was maybe 13 or 14. And she said, tell him what just happened. And so I told him what just happened. And then I didn't even know these people. I didn't know their name. They didn't know me. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Listen, have a great day. I don't know what came over me. Later that day, that family of 4 came into the sound lounge. And the young man said to me, thank you. He said, you changed the whole day for me. Because I heard that story of Chloe's sign, he said, it just opened me up. And the day was an amazing day. He probably lost a brother or a sister. So Chloe comes, but in different ways now. Yeah. I know I tell long-winded answers, but it's intricate and there's so much going on. It's so rich. It's so amazing. Yeah. Willie. Hi, Willie.
Hi, thank you for this. This is so interesting. Does Chloe ever discuss with you her where she is, the nature of her environment? Does that ever come up?
It did. Yes. We don't talk about that anymore, but when I was writing the book, it did. And I asked her, what are you doing? And she said, Mom, I'm doing what I loved doing when I was alive. So she used to love flower essences, and she would take courses like on essential oils and all this stuff. And she said, that's what I'm doing. She said, there's a lab. She's working in a lab where they're developing new colors and new combinations of colors for flowers. Is that cool or what? And then she said, it gets downloaded. And that was actually, Tina, I'm sure you've had this experience with other people, and it was proven to me over and over because I used to do a lot of mediumship. before I decided to just kind of be more like an alchemist and do a bit of sound and a bit of this and a bit of that. Um, I met a young man who had had cystic fibrosis when he was alive, and he passed from cystic fibrosis. And then his mom was in front of me, and he came and he said, "Tell my mom I'm a doctor and I'm exploring cystic fibrosis, and we are going to find a cure for cystic fibrosis." And he's now on the other side working with doctors on this side. And you might have heard that they recently came out with a drug. The drug is called CAFTA, and it's a drug that is allowing people with cystic fibrosis to lead normal lives. When I heard about this drug, I just went, oh my God, it is happening. That is what happens. We collaborate, and they collaborate with us. So whatever your language is, whatever your knowledge is, whatever your learning is, you are like a gift to those in spirit who want to continue working in that same direction and that same vein, and you can work with spirit. It's just amazing. You collaborate with spirit. So that's what Chloe's doing. There's something that I didn't put in the book. Like I wrote for a good period of time, quite a few blogs. There's a blog I invite you all to read. And it's a blog on possession. And it's on my site. And it's really something worth reading. There's also a little bit about it in the book. And there's also a little bit in the book about gender and people who come into their bodies embodying the male and the female, and how they really have a hard time. Wow, do we ever discriminate? And thank God, less and less, with the whole community of the LGBTQ, the whole community. But what Chloe explained to me, and I don't know what page it's on, but it's in there somewhere, that these people actually have sort of meshed their male and female enough to come with both sides and to be, they're brave. They're very, very brave people. And that is a phrase. Is this the blog? The Invisible World. Yes, Bethany, that's the blog. Oh, you're good, girl. You are good. That's it. I suggest everybody read it. Everybody. If I could put that on every billboard and in every newspaper, it's so important for people to know what's going on. Yeah. But that passage about the male and the female and people incarnating with both male and female touched a nerve. And I've received messages from people all over the place saying, thank you for writing that. So that's not me. I didn't write it. She wrote it. I don't take any credit for the words that she wrote. They're totally and completely her words. This book is kind of raw. It's kind of, it's raw. It's real. Only my words were edited because I didn't want to be repetitive. But, you know, oh, shit. I opened the book at the page. Here we go. I love that. Here we go. So much of the gender sequencing and mess up is all about crossover from one life to the next. A person may identify very strongly with a past life as a female, be born a male, and then have this inner struggle to express that femininity with which he so strongly identified. This is getting even more pronounced as people begin to recall past lives more. Individuals with this more present yin-yang balancing are brave individuals who agree to come forth and provide a shifting perspective to traditional mores and beliefs about gender and sexuality. Those were Chloe's words.
What page is that, Andrea?
It's on page 77. I
Thank
didn't
you.
Yay, 77. And so she says, we are totally alive. This is also page 77. Totally. Oh, I like this line. Please stop getting so hysterical about our passing. This is Miss Chloe, like no nonsense, Miss Chloe. Oh, and by the way, and then she goes on, we keep creating, we keep growing, we keep evolving. We are not slumbering in some kind of suspended state unless we believe that we're going to do that. Oh, this is cool. I'm getting somebody's not muted, so I don't know if you guys hear the feedback, but I hear it. But this is cool. This is one of the things that I asked for. I said, tell me stuff I don't know, tell me stuff, like teach me stuff. This is actually on page 78. Keep talking to us, keep talking about us, and keep us alive. And here's a concept that you may not have heard before. I love this one. Take the picture of a saint. Let's say Jesus. The more you gaze lovingly on his picture, pray to him, and speak to him, the more you increase the power of that picture, no matter where it exists on the planet. No matter where it exists on the planet. The representation actually takes on more value as more people adore it. Such is the power of collective thought. And it goes on. When you pray, you create a beam of light that shoots out into the universe. Krista, you can tell me if this is true. This is how we find you and communicate with you. It is a beautiful thing to see. Oh, it's a beautiful thing to feel too. Yeah, hi. Krista, you're muted.
Okay, there. Okay, so is Chloe back in Earth School in this lab, or is she in a lab in another dimension? Because if she's back here on Earth School doing this stuff,
She's not back. She is in another dimension. She passed in 2016, and she I don't believe is back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She is not here. Right.
okay. I just thought if she was, you could go to that place and see her again.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be. I think it would be super awesome.
That would be amazing. But it made total sense that she was still working on stuff she loved. She said, what? We still work on the stuff we love to work on.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kathy?
Yeah, I'm not even sure I can speak. I'll try. Number one, I remember that piece was, I've even told other people about that piece about the male female thing and it being left over from a past life. I find that fascinating. It's all of it is just so wonderful. But I do have a question. I'm not sure how to answer it, ask it. So I was a grief counselor for like 5 years in my hospice career. And, it was always talked about when people were stuck in grief or it's, complicated grief or whatever. And so I'm still not really sure exactly what happens, like when people hang on to their loved one and, like for, 3 or 4 years of just every single night, can't wait for nighttime to be with their husband. And is that not healthy for him, for him who is already passed? Is it not fair to him to not let him go and do what he needs to do? Or, it seems to fill her to be with him every night. And she like the flames go. And she gets like so many signs that he's there every night with her, and it's been 4 years and it's like, does he need to move on? Is that unfair of her to?
Well, I'll tell you what happened to me, and that might help answer. I
Thank you.
believe that if he really wanted to move on, he would make it known that it was time. I used to listen to a Harry Connick Jr. song, and the first time this happened, it just happened spontaneously that I was driving my car, listening to this cassette. This is how old it was. And my grandmother appeared in my windshield, and it was like I almost went off the road. And I said, oh my God. And she appeared, like I physically saw her. And so then after that, I kind of got hooked on that. And I would put that Harry Connick Jr. song on, and I would talk to her, and I would feel her close, and I'd put that Harry Connick Jr. song on. And finally, one day, she said to me in my head, that's enough. And you know what she did? She made that cassette just be completely eaten up by the machine. It was gone. Like the cassette was destroyed in the cassette machine. And I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know, I was really being like, I was hanging on and hanging on. Like I felt like I needed you, you know, but I said, go and just like grow and do your thing and flourish and create and expand. I never want to hold you back. So with Chloe, it was clear at the end of the book, it was like, I will come back and I will see you and I will visit and you will know me in so many ways. Just the other day, you know, I had the most beautiful sign, but I don't hold on. So I feel that I was totally ready too. Like I was okay with it, you know, even though sometimes I'm still not okay. I have moments, but I think that if they really wanted to go and they felt it was, you know, why do people pass alone, right?
Right.
So often, my father, we were 9 people in the room. Everybody goes home. It's been an exhausting 3 days. 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, I say, oh, time to go back. I go back to the hospital and it was just me. And I'm like, Dad, and he's in a coma. So I say to him, Dad, what's wrong? Why are you still hanging on? And he said to me, I heard in my head, attachment. He was so attached to all those 9 people in the room, he couldn't leave, you know? But then it was beautiful. And it was just me that was there. And I was able to do what you do, Kathy, which is to assist at the end of life, which is so beautiful. I'd like to just tell you, actually, only because I'm thinking of it, what happened the night Chloe passed. So the night Chloe passed, I was not at the hospital that night because her father was there sleeping in the room in a little bed. So I was not there. But I took a picture of her that day. And I thought to myself, I know this is her last day. And I asked the nurse, does it look like it's her last day? And the nurse said, no. About 12:30 at night, I get woken up and I go back to the hospital. I said, it's going to happen tonight. And I get to Chloe's room and she's doing that breathing, you know, that heavy breathing, trying to get out of her body. Now she was on the last day. She was not doing or saying anything. And there she was sitting up, her spine straight as anything, where the energy, it was incredible, remarkable. And she's trying to get out of her body like this. And she says to me in my head, Mom, please leave. I said, okay. So I go and I sleep in a chair in the hallway. Now it's February, right? So I have my coat, my hat, my boots, my purse. I sleep in the chair. And about 2 hours later, I get woken up by this tsunami of joy. I get hit in the stomach with this punch. And it's like, pow. And I wake up and it's like, oh. And I know it's done. And that too is something that I shared in a talk that I gave. And that also was the experience of other people in the room. And so having heard it, it helped them accept that it was actually real. So yeah, that's what happened the night Chloe passed. Yeah.
Bethany.
That's beautiful, Andrea. So beautiful. I wonder, does grief interfere with your ability to connect to people on the other side?
Great question. Absolutely. You are like a radio that's not tuned in to the proper station. And that has happened to me at funeral parlors where I'll go in and the deceased person will say to me, I'm trying to reach them, but they're too upset. You know, they're too sad. They're too in grief. And I'm like, well, you got to give them a break. I mean, you know, they're just trying to get used to this new reality. But yes, the key to hearing spirit is to be calm. It's equanimity. Equanimity. I used to hear that all the time. Andrea, equanimity. Equanimity, which is basically just be steady. Yes, it's very hard to hear spirit when you are emotional. You just, because it's so subtle, you know? Yeah. So you're right, 100%. Yeah.
Very good. Greg?
Wife actually wants to share some. This is Adam.
Hi.
Hi, Adam.
All right, squeeze in, Jen. Hi.
I'm Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. I just thought I wanted to share a cool story. It happened in 2002, so obviously it was a long time ago. You know, I definitely believe in Adam. I definitely believe in after-death communication. So my mother died when I was 6, but she's been in contact with me only over the past like 21 years, like here and there, like little things. So the first time she got in contact with me, I was at home in my little apartment with my then boyfriend. Now he's my husband. And we were just kind of relaxing on my bed, just watching TV, and he felt like a breeze by his foot. And, you know, he heard somebody say, tell her I love her. And then she, you know, she sent a few other messages. One of the messages was that to hang in there, that don't worry, one day things were going to be great. Life was going to be really good. I was kind of going through a hard time when she came through. I mean, things were a little challenging. And so at the end of the communication, she said, always remember the watchtower. And I'm like, what's the watchtower? You know?
Hi, Mommy.
So the next morning I'm sleeping and I hear like there's people knocking at my door. And I'm like, who the heck is, you know, here like 9 o'clock? I think it was like 10 o'clock. I don't know, in the morning on a weekday. And it was 2 Jehovah's Witnesses. And they handed me a booklet. And it said the watchtower on it. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I was completely like blown away. I couldn't fall back to sleep after that. I'm like, all right, I'm up. And I was just, I don't know. I just thought it was cool.
So I'll add to that. So I doubt my psychic powers a lot of times. And I'll tell you this, I am not somebody who can go in business as a psychic because I don't know how to do it at will. It happens when it happens. My son just opened a camera program. When it happens, I'm like usually half asleep or just like in a deep thing. And I just felt like saying this to her. And then later kind of discredited myself saying, oh, I don't know, Adam, please. Maybe I was just making that up or whatever. So yeah, that's
Well, I would suggest is just start writing. Write these things down. Write them down. When you get something, just start writing it down. It's just a great way to go back and reread what you wrote, and you'll be like, wow, that doesn't sound like me. Those aren't my words. Just start writing down what you get. It is.
What about dreams? Like the same with dreams too?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, most people, because of their doubt, it's through our dreams that spirit connects with us. Yeah, because we're in the delta waves. We are not in our conscious mind, and we are there's just no resistance when you sleep. There's just no resistance. Yeah.
Carrie, you're next.
Hi.
Hi, Terry.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to something, something I was thinking of when you were talking about grieving. So my grandmother had an NDE and always was telling us she wasn't afraid to die. She thought she saw Jesus and went over and everything. So from a young age, she told us that. So I really never did have a fear of dying. Plus, I had an NDE, a near drowning, when I was young. And then my mother started communicating to me, and many others after people who have passed have been communicating with me. So this is the thing about grieving. I don't grieve like others because I know that they're so close.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like I have a typical response to grieving, which might make me seem cold or unfeeling. Because, like my sister, when my mother and father died, I mean, the crying, the going on and can't move forward.
Yeah.
And I seem cold and unfeeling because I can go forward because I know they're behind the veil.
I totally know
You know
where
what I'm
you're coming
saying?
from.
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
I 100% know where you're coming from. And I have to talk to myself sometimes when I'm working with parents who have kids in spirit and they don't necessarily share the same faith, the same knowing. They haven't had the same experience and they're afraid. And, are they okay? Like sometimes people say to me, I just want to know that my child is okay. And then I think to myself, oh boy, have you read any books? Have you talked to a medium? Have you, where are you in your journey? Because it's really imagine you got it from a young age, you were told. Imagine what the world would be like if
Yes.
kids would get it from a young age. Wouldn't that be something? No fear of death?
Right. I wish so many other people would experience this because, even my husband doesn't understand it, because, it just, I just wish everyone could know. And then things would be just so much better going forward.
But I also appreciate one of my son always tells me, Mom, that's their journey. You have to honor their journey. And he's right. Everybody is on their own journey and they'll get to it when they get to it. I had something that happened one night. I was doing sound. Once a month, I do sound for helping parents heal. And it's quite amazing how powerful it is on Zoom. I couldn't believe. And their parents, they're everywhere. It doesn't matter where they're in Dubai, they're in India. It doesn't matter. And I had a parents that were on that the wife totally believed, but the husband, I didn't know this till afterwards. The husband was completely a skeptic and really having a hard time. And all of a sudden, during our hour, I saw a book. I saw a book in front of me, and it was Robert Schwartz, Your Soul's Plan. And I said, and there were quite a lot of people on it. And I said, I know this is for somebody, and I don't know who it's for, but you got to read that book. Somebody has that book. No, I didn't say somebody has that book. I said somebody has to read Robert Schwartz, Your Soul's Plan. And this woman sends me an email. She said, my husband was a total skeptic, didn't want to come tonight. He's got that book on his night table and it's been there for 6 months and now he's going to read it. So I thought, ooh, here we go. So, what brought him that particular night? So it was part of his journey to get that opening. But I just have to respect everybody where they are in their journey and try. Sometimes I feel so much joy when she does some crazy signs that I have to kind of, I actually have to sort of cover my solar plexus, because it's just pouring out all this love and this light is just pouring out. And I have to cover the solar plexus to say, okay, Andrea, just pull it in a little bit, girl. Take a breath. Not everybody has this, is on the same journey, and just breathe in and breathe out. And so, but I know, Terry, exactly where you're coming from. Yeah, I could tell you so many signs from clothes, like crazy. And of course, that's really fun when you get these amazing signs,
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Is it Matthew or Sharon that has that hand up?
Of course, this is Sharon.
All right, Sharon.
Hi.
I have a question for you. You talked about the transitioning and the new way of existence that they have on the other side. You talked about the merging afterlife with a new birth. I have a question for you. Did they ever talk about IVF?
In vitro. Not to me, but I have had mediumship experiences where every birth and death, I was told, is completely appropriate. Every birth is of the appropriate length. So, and this is so hard to accept. Even adoption is appropriate, and that chosen parent is chosen. Even that child that doesn't make it to term, they still grow in spirit. They still grow. Yeah, they still grow. It's amazing. They grow up, and all I know about technology that I've been told is that it's a great gift to be used responsibly. And every birth, whether it's an in vitro or whether it's a natural birth, whether it's a adoption, whatever, it is appropriate. And it's the real gifted children that come in accepting to deal with physical disabilities and mental disabilities, and they're guides for us. We don't just have guides in spirit, eh? We have guides that are here too, in 3 dimensions. I'll tell you just a funny story. I love to sometimes I use my pendulum just for fun. I have a little fun with it. And the other day I had my pendulum out and I said, just give me the name of a guide. I said, I know, guides are collective energy and collective consciousness, and it's not really a name, but I would like to have a name so that I can call them by name. So my pendulum spells out Roy, R-O-Y. So I'm like, Roy, great. Hi, Roy. I'm so happy to meet you. I have appreciated your guidance and your love. And, we're going to do so many great things together. 2 days later, I'm with a girlfriend of mine who I met right after my near-death experience. And she really helped me tremendously. We started meditating together in 1992. And we actually meditated Monday. Today, we still meditate together. Like we try every week. Imagine from 1992. That's like 30 years. So I'm with her one day and I tell her, I took my pendulum and it spelt out Roy. And she looks at me and she says, Andrea, what's my last name? Her last name is Roy. She's French. Carole Roy, R-O-Y. I said, oh, of course, you dummy. So she is a guide for me. So it's like there is so much more going on than we realize. Life is so much richer and it's so magical. So whether a child comes in an IVF or whatever form or fashion, it's appropriate and it's as it should be. Does that help? It's a long-winded answer.
It does help. You answered the question that I really didn't have the nerve to ask, which I thought anyway, because I'll just tell you, I thought anyway for reasons that they still grow even if they don't come to term.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They do. Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
It is cool. It is cool. And if you have a miscarriage, it happened to me. I was giving readings to husbands and wives separated. That was cool. So first I did the wife, and I didn't know they were husband and wife. And this woman, and I saw these 2 children and on each of her hands, and they were 2 miscarriages she had. And these were older children now, and they were with her, and they were taking care of her, and they were helping her. Then her husband came in the room. I didn't know it was her husband. And sure enough, I saw these two kids with him and found out that he was her husband, and those were the two children, two miscarriages, and these children were with them. Isn't that cool?
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. It is. It is. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Kathy Trueheart.
Oh, I was almost just gonna take my hand down because it just seems so obvious, but I would assume the same thing would be if somebody had an abortion.
Yes. Yes.
So how
But what I've learned is that if that soul really wants to come through, they will find a way. They will find another parent and they will come through. Yeah. Now that's a whole, oh boy, are we getting into a
that's I almost put my hand
kettle of
down
fish.
now.
Yeah. I mean, there are other mediums in the room here, but my understanding is that the soul comes in just before birth, and they have more than one possibility. They check out this set of parents and they check out that set of parents, and they look at what they want to develop in this lifetime and where would they be in the most fertile place to create what they want to come in and create. And of course, often it's with your tribe, with your family members, because you want to finish and resolve and complete. But that's what I was told. Yeah, is that the soul inhabits just before the birth, not before.
Yes, I heard that too.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's what I was told too. Like I get these downloads,
Yeah. Glenn?
Oh, hi, Andrea. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Glenn.
Just wondering if I might ask a question about someone who hasn't had a lot of experience with this sort of thing, but in my case, a couple of times I felt something like some sort of personage or whatever. But I don't encourage that. I don't seek for it. That's just happened a few times. One, what would you do if you think it's a positive experience and you want to engage? Two, have you ever had to deal with intrusive energies or ones that you didn't really want to deal with? Then you had to shoo them away somehow.
I before I started doing sound, it's Chloe, by the way, who really pushed me to do sound healing publicly, because I learned very quickly the value of having my vibration high. So now I kind of vibrate in this all the time. So I don't ever attract, because lower vibrations, just like lower humans, it's the same thing, will go to the low-hanging fruit. And so it is not an issue for me. However, if you want to attract and you want to encourage, watch your language too. You know how you just said, well, I don't really want it, so I don't really encourage it. No, what you want to say is something that opens you to welcome spirit, but you want always to be in the most highest and divine light. So you just surround yourself, just the smallest prayer. I love it when everybody makes their own prayer, because I have my own prayers that I say, but just, may the white divine light of love fill up this room and fill me up. I'm here with love and whatever, but surround yourself. That's it, with the white divine light of love, and then you are protected, and that's it. And if you want to develop it, oh, that's so much fun. It's the most beautiful thing. Just go for a walk. Just do some breaths. Just sit and look at a flower, or light a candle and look at the flame, or do nothing. Just make the statement that it's what you want and allow it to happen. It will.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Oh, and one other thing, have something in your home that has a high vibration, whether it's a bowl or a whatever, a metal bowl, a crystal bowl. Raise your vibration every day. Just hit it. And
well, do you think, let me run this by you. I know you've done yoga and meditation, I think, at least. And So if you have something that they call, like, you clear the chakras and you roll it up into the medulla and you get into the bliss response, would you consider that a high enough vibration?
Absolutely. Do what speaks to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Glenn, tomorrow, if you remind me, we can discuss a little further on that when we have our talk.
Oh, okay, great.
Very good.
Absolutely. Sure.
Thank you. Now,
you.
Jim.
Hi, I have a question. In terms of, vibrational frequencies and in the higher pitched tones, have you talked to people who have that inside their head all the time? It's not externally generated. It's
Right, and it becomes annoying. You're talking about like tinnitus kind of thing.
It is
Annoying.
not tinnitus. It is
Okay.
not. But I've had it since I was in the crib, and I'm hearing it right now.
Well, I would say it's angelic frequencies. What would you say, Tina? To me, it's not a negative thing. It's a very positive thing. But
the thing is, it's changed according to circumstances, and it's always been with me. And a lot of times, I can tell when it's flaring up. I can tell when it's warning. It's interesting, but it's definitely not tinnitus, and it definitely doesn't bother me. I consider it a companion.
Mm. And
it's
I would think that's what it is. It's like you're the companion of the high vibrations around you and your spirit team around you. Yeah.
Exactly.
But you manage it, you.
Oh yeah. Well, I was
tone
made
it down or.
I was made to wait 23 years before a certain path of yoga would let me in. And on the day they let me in, I said, why the wait? And they said, we don't seek to increase our numbers at all. And I don't say they're secret, but they just don't, you wouldn't come across them anywhere. And it's called it translates as the path of the light and the sound. And when I said, I've heard this thing, I said, oh yeah, that's part of it. And they said, when you meditate, that sound will become a voice. But it's not like a voice. It's a voice that when you listen to it, you feel the same impressions upon you as if it were a voice saying things. It's really hard to describe, but that's a big part of my spirituality. So I just wanted to
write it. Do you write it? Can you do automatic writing and just write it out?
Well, those were my books.
So then you are working with it, and you are
the second
allowing the flow.
Yeah, I wrote it in a month, and I don't remember writing it.
Wonderful.
Nice.
But anyway, thank you.
That's beautiful.
Glenn, did you have your hand up again?
Well, I guess, I was going to ask Jim quickly. I mean, you mentioned having done yoga. Have you worked, did the sound go through some of the typical phases they describe or not? Yours has just been more constant and steady.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, to Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to, did it progress through any of the normal sounds they describe?
No, it's always been a high pitched sound. And when I was a baby, I can remember being a baby in a crib, listening to it, thinking, what is that? And then I would go to sleep and I dreamt about Jesus like I knew him. And then I hadn't even been to church. Who's Jesus? I didn't go to church. My parents weren't religious. And then I dreamt about living in Mexico. And that's where I'm moving to in 2 weeks. So.
Thank you for sharing.
You know that everything that we think, say, and do is known. Everything. Mm-hmm. Nothing is hidden. There is nothing hidden. If you have a deep desire, it is known. Everything is known. How amazing.
No privacy.
No privacy. So the idea is to be totally authentic and then you just live in joy.
And when you have no judgment, you don't need to worry about privacy so much.
That's right. And no judgment. I had my grandmother used to come to me and say, okay, we're going to work on this. We're going to work on that. Mm-hmm. And one night she came to me and she said, we're going to work on not criticizing and not judging. No more criticism and no more judgment. She said, repeat after me. And it was actually a line from the Bible which I hadn't read. It was something like, "Judge not, and you shall not be judged.
Matthew
Condemn
7,
not, and you shall not be condemned. Forgive, and you shall be forgiven." That's
Matthew
what she
7,
told me.
verse 1.
Okay, wise guy. I don't know what it is.
Just so you
He
know.
told it to me. Okay, it's Matthew.
Matthew 7, verse 1.
Oh, I have a son, Matthew. I named my son Matthew.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Judge not, and you shall not be judged. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. Forgive, and you shall be forgiven. And she told me, she said, you repeat that every day, all day. And it became who I am.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I know it's Matthew. Thank you.
Well, when you live a prayerful life, you'll never have to pray again.
Yeah, that's right. Every day's a prayer. Every day's a prayer. Oh, it's so cool. Yeah.
Okay, so Greg.
Hi, just me this time. Here's something. You say you're a psychic medium, and I know we have other psychic mediums in this group. And this is just a question I had. So your most annoying questions are like, oh, does T really like me, or things like that, or am I getting a career? What would be a question though that you would like if you could have anybody ask? Like, what would be the preferred question to ask a psychic that you think people really want to should know? In other words, what is the question you wish people would ask? I guess is what I'm asking. Does that make sense?
That's an interesting question. I do find that when I used to work as a medium, I would, it's really something to connect with spirit and to let spirit through and to let them speak in such wisdom and such love. And you give people great direction. And then guess what? They don't follow it. They don't do it. Because, and I used to think, you know what? I don't want to do it that way anymore. I want to do it now a different way where people come to their own realizations. And if I had a question, maybe it would just be, what do I most need to know for my highest and best good? That's just off the top of my head. I don't know. What do you think, Tina?
Love it.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question, Greg. But I think so. I think, what do I most need to know? You know what? I know we're finishing. And I have to say that last month, in our loving healing meditation, Krista Marie, if you're still here, I hope you're still here, did the most extraordinary loving healing meditation. And I really hope you're all going to join us next time. And Krista, I hope you're going to be there.
Thank you.
Oh, it was so powerful. And when you want something from spirit, like, it's not like you want a car. It's like you want more faith, or you want, like, I wanted, believe it or not, I know this might sound crazy at 63 years old, but I wanted to feel what the Holy Spirit is. Like, I never quite could connect. It came in so strong. It came in like, I don't know, like a waterfall that came up from the soles of my feet and a waterfall that came down from the top of my head. It was unbelievable. And I wrote down the prayer that you said at the end.
Oh, good.
So I totally give this to you. These are your words. And I was scribbling as fast as I could while you were speaking. And it was so inspired and so beautiful. And I think I would just like to end with this. Thank you, Krista Marie. Honestly, it was amazing. And I really hope that you all will come and join us. I'm telling you, I don't know, like, wow. Really? Yeah. So this was what you said. Okay. Now I can type it out afterwards and send it to Bethany, so nobody has to scribble it.
Okay.
Okay. You don't have to scribble it. Okay. Oh, thank you, Bethany. Yeah. It's Sunday, August 27th at 4:00. This is not meant to be an advertisement for Sunday. This is, I'm telling you, is special. Krista, you did something. You opened up the portal, and all I say now all the time is the Holy Spirit is with me. The Holy Spirit is with me. I don't even feel like it's just, wow. And I had asked, but I didn't know you can't just make these things happen, but you did.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that with me. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's true. It's true. Listen, I know everything I think, say, and do is known. So I can't lie. I can't cheat. I can't steal. I can't even exaggerate. I just, right? It's true. So this is it. I call in the love and light and truth of who I am. I am precious. I am worthy. I am strong. I am brilliant. I am God's light. God is with me. God is within me. I am loved. I come from love. I am love. I am whole. I am complete. I am victory. I have found the eyes for my soul to see. My soul leads me, and love carries me. I rest in the peace that embodies me.
Oh, yes, that went right through my spine. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Where do I do that thing?
Now, how do you do that with the hearts?
There we go.
That's good, Kathy. That's good.
Mine's not.
There you go.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you very much, Andrea. Anybody can stay in longer if you wish, but I guess Bethany will stop the recording. And when she's done with the, fixing whatever needs to be fixed, then she'll send it to you. And she will also post it on our website and Facebook as well.